All right, so for Schoology conferences, let me go ahead and share my
I'm not on
screen.
a video. I just did my video off.
Okay, so I'm going to do share screen, and I'm going to, let's see, I want to go here.
Oh no, I don't have Sam's husband.
Let's see which one though. All right, let's
Glad
go with
they shipped before they.
this one. All right. All right, so one of the things I've also noticed, those of you who've been using Schoology, they are having an increased volume. So if you're having some kind of issue or glitchiness, it's like earlier in the year we had to check back in. Yesterday, Chrome for some reason was not carrying Schoology very well, so I switched to Firefox and Mozilla Firefox, and then also Explorer, and they worked fine for Schoology. So if you're having an issue, check the browser first as far as Schoology goes. Now, first thing on the agenda is Schoology conferences. So can everyone see my screen where it says conferences? Yes. Okay. All right. So they started pushing Zoom, and they were talking about Zoom and all the things that Zoom has to offer. What I wanted to just show you is that in Schoology, you have a conference feature, and you can actually go through the whole process, record the session so that if someone misses it and you make the file available, they can use it later. So all I did was, first off, if you don't have it, actually what I noticed today, you may have to do this anyway, but you would go up to your App Center, and you would go to the App Center, reinstall conferences or install it, either way. So my App Center will load in a second. When you get to the App Center, you'll also notice that these things are not in any particular order. So I usually use Control F to find stuff. And I'm going to type in conferences for my search once my computer decides to load. Okay, it is being ornery, so let's do it a different way. Let's try my other tab. Yeah. Let's go here then. I'm not sure what's going on, but we'll do it this way. All right, so if you were installing this, you go to App Center. I hope the scrolls on my computer cooperate. Here we go. That's not good. Scrolls are not working. Okay, so eventually it would go to the App Center. I've never seen it do this long or this slow. I'm not sure what's going on. But basically you go to the App Center, type in Schoology, or I mean not Schoology, but conferences. Click on it, install it, and then once it's installed, it'll show up for the course you picked. For the sake of time, I'll leave that part. I'll figure out what's going on later. Once you have it installed, it will show, there it goes. How about that? All right, and then I'm gonna do a search for conferences. Yeah. All right, and then like I said, these are in no particular order. So I'm gonna get those all day, I think. So there's conferences, this is what it looks like. Left click on it. And then once you left click on it, it's going to take you to install app, and you'll click this button, and then it'll ask you if you agree or disagree.
Alfred, nothing's happening on my screen.
Don't screen, no one else sees anything? Okay.
The screen isn't working.
Okay, let me redo the screen share then, let's see. Let's see. Thanks for popping in, okay, that's good. Let's see if this one works. See that one?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody good? Okay, so what I did was I clicked on the app grid up here at the top, went to the App Center, did a search for conferences, and then once conferences popped up, I clicked this button to install the app. It asked me which courses I want to pick, and I just leave it like this. I don't worry about course admins only because I don't have time for all that. Then you hit install, and then once you hit install, it will show up in your course over here on the left-hand pane under materials. Once this goes back. Now, there are a couple things that I actually love about conferences, and I'll point out some of the things that I like about it once we get there. back to my course. Okay, so you can see over here to the far left, I've got these things, and if I go down a little bit more, there's conferences. I left click on it, we get this for a start. All right, so active conferences are the ones that when you want to create a new one, you would go like this, and then I would give it a name. We'll call it test number 4, and click inside the grid for a start time. I usually put the date. You can put a time over here. If you do put a time in, it doesn't matter because you can start the conference anytime you want. I'm just going to choose create. And then over here, I'm going to hit start conference. Now, what will happen is like this is the conference, and it's an open source app that Schoology works with called Big Blue Button. And that's what's going to pop up here. It'll ask you microphone, and I'm going to choose allow. It'll give you an echo test. I hit yes. I feel so all alone. All right, so then once I'm in, you'll notice over here to the left, these are the users that are in the actual conference, all right? And so right now it's just me, but as it gets populated, the users would show up here. There is a public chat feature. So that's here, which is what this is showing you here, and I could type in, hello everyone. All right. I could also do shared notes. Let's see, so I want to talk about breakout rooms. All right, and then you can format this stuff, number it, whatever you want. All that would show up here. What I like about this though, is that if you have some kind of assignment where you want the kids synchronistic to collaborate on something, like let's say you have everybody in your class together and they're working on it, you can do breakout rooms and have things set up where kids can go into their breakout rooms and work on the assignment in their groups. And you can either have them populate the groups, or you could put them in the groups, or you could randomly assign the groups. That would be up to you. So there's this whole breakout room thing. That's what this is showing right here, which I think is really awesome. And so you could also do polls where you would audibly ask a question, or you would put something on a slide. In this case, I could enter a question in. Let's see if I move this so I can see the rest of my screen. All right, so if I come over to my whiteboard slide over here, I could come up here to the hand tool, and I could choose text, and I could ask you a question. Type it in. Okay. I gotta make that bigger apparently. So I want to make this bigger. Okay. So assuming that I did that, let's see. I'm not sure if I can make this bigger once I typed it. I haven't played with that one enough. But anyway, you could ask them a question on the slide, have it already set up ahead of time. Ask them a question, then go to your poll. And once you poll them, the poll would show up in real time for you. And then, so I like the breakout room. Let me show you what that looks like. So let's see if I can do it with just me. Let's see. So, all right. So if I hit this, that's my poll that I was showing you earlier. So I would hit this button for the poll, get my questions, all that kind of stuff. And you can do yes, no, A, B kind of questions, those kind of things. Let's see what's under my settings. Okay, so here's where you would create the breakout rooms. And then, like I said, you could set it up like this, and it'll show you all this stuff. Again, there's a much better video I'm gonna give you a link to, but I at least want to know, let you know like what's here for it. So if you ever decide to use it, it's here for you. You can also take your PowerPoints, upload a presentation from your drive. So if you have a Google slide one, you'd have to download it and make it a PowerPoint and then upload it that way. So it does PowerPoints, and it also does PDFs. If I wanted to do a video, again, this is, if if I had this all in class, and so this is a video of the people who make this app, and this guy's talking about using Big Blue. You can make it play larger or smaller. If you wanted to show yourself off, so I'm gonna allow my camera, and so here's me. Oh, it doesn't like that. So let's see my webcam settings. I may have too many. I know what's happening because I'm doing Zoom. I can't do both at the same time. So my camera is being used for Zoom. That's why I can't use it for here. But that's how, like, basically my little picture would show up if I were using my camera. I could share my screen, and it would go through all that, share screen, etc. This over here is where your tools are for annotation. Let's say you were doing a math problem. If I wouldn't actually write it out by hand, I would probably have a worksheet and then write it in or something. But anyway, your tools are here. If you hit this little corner, like in Adobe kind of products, let's see if I can get it to work. There you go. Those are the tools. You got an undo, a trash can, and a whiteboard. So all that stuff is here in Conference again. And the thing that I like is if you record this, I would hit yes. And this is what I would do right off the bat is I would set up a record button so you're recording. And so this is the record piece. And so if I hit this button again, it'll ask me if I want to pause. I hit yes. Again, you can record your entire session. Now, here's the cool thing. I'm going to go ahead and end this conference piece. I'm just looking at my clock because I want to talk about some other stuff. But anyway, I'm going to end my whole thing. So up here in the top right, make sure I'm not in my Zoom. Okay. So I'm going to end the meeting, and then, so I'm going to hit yes. All right. And then they ask you for feedback. I just send it to them. All right. So once you have the conferences done, you would come back in, hit conference again, and you're going to remember I showed you this panel to begin with, and you've got the meeting I just finished right here. I'm going to choose end conference. And then I'm going to come over here to completed ones. The reason I want to show you this is because you'll notice here it says recordings are only available for 7 days. Here's the way to get around that. So I'm going to go hit play for one of my videos. Now, keep in mind when you do a recording, it takes about 10 minutes for the conference to show up and you have access to this. So if I try to right click here, you'll notice I get that. If I try to right click here, I get the same thing. But look what happens when I right click here. And it gives me the option for save video as. This means you can take this video, save it to your file, and then upload it to YouTube or anywhere else you want to, and have it so that students can access it after the 7 days.
Where did you right click?
So what I did was, just so you can see what I did, is in the top right, this little white panel right here. So what I did, I was just playing around with this because I was like, you've got to be kidding me. We only get this for 7 days. And so what I ended up doing was read up on it, troubleshot it, and then I was like, let me just try some things. So then I tried this, and then I was like, oh, look at that. So watch what happens. Let me pause this, that's playing me now. All right, so now when I right click, you'll notice I get the MP4 file that tells you that's a video that your computer can play. All right, let's stop this guy. Anyway, let me stop this guy because I don't like hearing myself on camera. All right. Okay, so that's how you get around that whole thing. And like I said, there are people who've done better videos and things like that, and I'll send those resources out. But I at least wanted to let you know that that's what was available to you, and it's already in Schoology, and you don't have to worry about people trolling you or any of the other stuff that may happen with Zoom as far as that goes. And so what I'll do is if you have some glaring questions about it, I'll be happy to take those. Let me get back to Zoom now. Let's see what's in there. Chat side. And then I wanted to talk about the other thing to get you guys to think about. So let's see what we got. All right. So anybody real quick before I move to the second part, anything about conferences other than, I appreciate whoever it was that asked about where I clicked. Good question. There's a lot there. And so, and there's videos who people have done it way better than I've done it. And you'll see that when you
questions in the chat box.
Say that louder, please, whoever that was.
There are
questions in the chat box.
Okay, let me get to that box. Let's see if I can find it on my screen again. Okay.
Hey, Alfred,
Yes.
could you maybe address why this would be better, if it is, than using a Zoom session with our students?
So one of the things that I would say would be better as far as that goes would be there was some concern of people who raised issues about people breaking into your Zoom meeting or trolling it with inappropriate materials. And so this takes that totally out of the loop. So you don't even have to worry about it if your settings are messed up or compromised. The second piece, though, is that what it allows you to do is to be able to interact. If you have a bunch of kids on screen, you can interact with that whiteboard. And so let's say you have a worksheet. Like I've been in a few of your classrooms where you've gone to the board and you've worked through a series of problems and you showed it to the kids. That whiteboard, I would just make it big and you could have them work. You could show what you wanted to show on there, or you could have a student demonstrate, like they can have control of the whiteboard and show what they understand. You could also poll them real quick and ask them questions like, everybody thumbs up if you got this, or yes, no, or you could create a custom poll inside of your thing so you can pause and just check for understanding across the board and get a quick feedback reading from people that way.
I assume the whiteboard feature that you're talking about would require one of the laptops that is like right on or touch screen, which not all of us have.
Yeah, so that one would be, yeah, so if you have the whiteboard feature that way, then yeah, it would be much easier to do it with that. I also realized that if you're not used to writing with like a stylus or something connected, then that becomes a little harder. But that is a feature that is available for kids who do have the touchscreen stuff as far as that goes. The other thing that I like about it though is the breakout room where you can put some content up and have them in groups and talking about stuff and then come back together, which is something I don't think Zoom allows you to do. And then let me look at this screen. The rest of the stuff, I think, I mean, there's some additional bells and whistles, but that's probably the two main differences is if you wanted to pause and check for understanding and have some interactive stuff, whether it was a video or a presentation, you could put that stuff in and allow the students to have an exchange with you that way.
And Alfred, real quick, I mean, I think this would be really good because it's going through Schoology, so it's more for, you know, like education. Zoom does have breakout rooms. The only thing that I would caution is with breakout rooms, unless you're really going to keep jumping from room to room to room as the teacher, is just the breakout rooms are going to cause situations where students might be interacting without teacher kind of, you know, that umbrella.
Supervision, yeah.
And yes, and then that might cause issues with, because they said like don't leave meetings up. If you're not going to be in the meeting, don't leave it up.
Yeah.
So that just might be a word of caution about the breakout rooms.
Yeah, so everybody take that under advisement. And the other thing that I would say about that is that set time limits and expectations when you're doing those things, and you can check in with the kids as they're doing the stuff, which I think will help. All that to say, there's a lot of technical stuff here. Just remember too, as you're going through whatever you decide to use as your platform, just remember to convey like some of your personal, like who you are and that kind of thing. Because your kids, they grow to love you over time and they get to know your family a little bit and that kind of stuff. And I think sometimes even in a virtual environment, we forget that like there's the part that you as a teacher, you're a person, and your students actually see that sometimes and they build relationships with you as a person. And so just remember to try to keep that, because I know for me, I know a lot of stuff and I've learned a lot of stuff over the years, but what I valued more was the relationships I forged with my teachers. And that didn't just happen by me getting a bunch of links or a bunch of assignments and that kind of thing. So don't sell yourself short in whatever platform you use for it. Now, somebody, I can't see the chat questions for some reason, maybe, so if there's another one on there that needs asking, That would be good. I'm gonna actually segue to something else I want you to think about. And I'm sharing this with you in this perspective. When I left the classroom, I was digital and I did all this stuff online and that kind of thing. And before we did the digital thing, what we did was I used Google Drive and had kids turn work in and that kind of thing. And so what I want you to think about is when the students are turning the work in, this is the part that for me made me, even though we used Moodle at CHS to begin with, and Moodle was horrible, it was still better than receiving assignments through Google Drive, all right? And so, but before I get to that, if you are, okay, I can't minimize anything, that's fine. Let me do Alt Tab then, we'll work around it. Okay, if you are going to use Google Drive, we're going to share this resource with you so you have it. And so this is there as far as that. If this is as far as you go with it, just keep this part in mind here, that for your students, just to make a better learning experience for them, this resource will be available for you guys to use. But it talks about how to set up your folders and organizing the stuff. Naming conventions I found was really important. Even after, it took about 9 weeks, and I wasn't getting like the brightest of the brightest kids, but it took about 9 weeks for my kids to get used to a naming convention. What would happen before is they would get a Google Doc, they would go copy, make a copy, they would delete the name, sometimes they wouldn't put their name in it. So when I would receive it or I go to grade it, I couldn't tell whose paper I was looking at. I was clicking here and there. And so make sure that whatever you do, you're a stickler about how they name your document, because that's going to drive you crazy. Also, share settings for the students. But all this stuff is here for you. If you just do the Google folder part, because we wanted to make sure whatever you decided to do, you did that. But what I would strongly encourage
Can you share your screen again?
Okay, all right, let me, yeah, so I must have lost it. Let's see. Thanks, whoever that was. Let's see, get back to Zoom and, okay, so let me do this one more time. Let me go back to this document. All right, can everybody see this document? It's a Google Docs that's supporting Google folders. Say yes, no?
As search Google folders and feedback process.
Okay, so at the very top, yeah. So this document here is what we have. Just everybody see this one? Tips to manage instruction through Google folders.
Yes.
Okay, good. So this document is here just to help you guys to, I don't want you to go crazy during all this. And so this just goes through folder hierarchy, numbering your folders, naming your documents and those kind of things for the students. Please note, you can also include videos in your Google folder, right? So if you haven't thought about that, you can record yourself or something and put a note in there for your kids. Your share settings are going to be important. Make sure you choose anyone with the link can view. That way they can download it and make a copy. Your student directions, whatever you decide. This is a video that's in this document that talks about that. If you get in what I did was I had a folder. I would do a search and I would search for whatever particular assignment. And then I moved everything into that folder for that assignment. And then that at least made it more manageable for me to find stuff. And I would strongly encourage you to do that. If you're giving feedback, use the comment feature, tag them if you need to in the actual document. That's what this talks about. And then this is how to search your Google Drive by different ways, because you're going to have some kids who turn work in and they're going to rename it or change it and you got to find it. And so just make sure that you're able to do that. So that resource is there. All right.
Where is that resource?
I'm going to share it with you. I haven't shared it with you yet because we were waiting to get the clearance for it. But I just know from my experience, and I got like 6 minutes. Let me show you one more piece before we switch over. Here's what I would tell you though. And I know they're pushing Schoology across the board, but if you've been using some type of learning management system to collect your work from your students, I would encourage you to use that learning management system to collect the work from your students rather than just having a folder where they share it with you. Now, from my position point, Schoology is the one that we've made resources for, but here's a screen that talks about using folders. One of the neat things about making the folder is that if someone couldn't access your Schoology or your learning management system, at least for nothing else, if someone had to make a hard copy of the stuff, they could find it from that folder and make a copy and get it to the student. But what I want you to think about is when you're all done and they want to turn that stuff into you, if you're using Google Drive and they're sharing it with you, some of you've done projects where they put all the stuff in and your inbox blows up, and then you have stuff coming in from all these different places. You got to find it, you got to keep it organized. And so what I would tell you is just avoid this frustration and use whatever learning management system you feel comfortable with. In my case, I'm pushing Schoology because that's what we paid for. It's got a lot of nice features in it, but it's designed to keep you from avoiding these frustrations. All right, and then the other thing is I would tell you is make your students happy, because what it'll do is that whole make a copy, share settings all at Schoology will do it automatically for you if you use the Google Drive assignment app. And it takes literally about a minute to do each one of those to set the assignment up. And I promise you, it will save you a bunch of time, whether you use Schoology or some other learning management system. I'm just telling you that I just remember it was insane trying to receive work from people. And then I only had like 4 classes then, 4 times 20, about 80 kids roughly. You get all that coming in your inbox times 5. So that's why I would tell you, use the learning management system or some way of collecting your files, right? I just want to put this in front of you guys to be thinking about. I know we have a meeting coming up. I am available and I don't mind, and I know the instructional coaches are also available. We want to come alongside whatever you decide to do. We will support you in that. As far as that goes, I just remember that process of trying to get stuff from Google folders, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I just remember that it was not a pleasant experience. And some of you have done group projects, and you've only done like with a group project, and you only had to get like 6 or 7 files from a class or something. But just imagine that multiplied for every student you got.
So Alfred, just basically you're just showing us the Google folders for organization wise, because that's what the district is saying. We're sending that, like the WISE closure folder, that's going to all families. So they need to be able to see the assignments in order. But what you're saying is still use, the suggestion is to then still use Schoology for suggestion.
What I would, correct.
For collecting the work.
Yeah, for collecting the work. Make sure, just tell them, turn it in on Schoology. Because it is, and I had to be a stickler because I had kids who would try, like, can I just share it with you? And then if one kid did, then another kid, and then the exception becomes the rule, and then you're back in that spot where you didn't want to be in.
That's going to make it hectic and crazy. Is the training tomorrow the same topic?
It'll be the same, but I'm available for, and people may have different questions for tomorrow, but what I was just telling you is that if you want to talk more about it later, again, I'm doing office hours from 1:30 to 3:30 every day. And then you got 3 wonderful instructional coaches who are also coming alongside you guys so that you have us all as resources. We want to put you in the best position without you going crazy. That's my whole thing. I do not want to see any of you going crazy trying to get this stuff together for people. So, does that
Alfred, I
make
just want to
sense?
say here, yes, and ask a question. There are several questions in the chat that we don't have time to answer. Do you have access to that you can follow up with that later?
I think I will, but if someone will copy them, because my screen is being shared, and I've done a couple different things, my whole setup is messed up. So if somebody would copy those and just share them with me, and then I'll go through them, that would be great. And guys, thanks for checking in. We do have a faculty meeting that I'd like you guys to go join. So I'm going to stop recording this one, and then I will see you guys in the other meeting, and I will answer your questions as they come up and get answers to you. I appreciate you guys, and I hope that you guys are staying safe.
Thank you, Alfred.
Thank you.
You're welcome, guys. All right, let's see. Stop share and